mathematician or of an artist or of a poet or all of them and more. It is the one reality which gives meaning to existence, enriches our daily task, encourages our hope, energizes us with faith and feeling wherever knowledge fails, and illuminates the whole universe with immortal love. This is a universe of love, and there is no place that love in its entirety does not exist. This is a universe in which love is the dominant feeling or movement of life. And our lesson tonight is on the power of love, divine love, as represented by John the disciple. We are spiritual beings, you and I, with a destiny larger and far more beautiful than we have yet dared to believe. Some time ago, we stopped daring to believe, really. And tonight we begin again. 2 Timothy, for God did not give us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power and love and self-control. Our freedom will come when we establish this spirit as our own experience inside ourselves, and then demonstrate that spiritual freedom in our lives for all to see. You are free to make your demonstration. And that's exactly what Jesus, the master teacher, did. That's what set him apart, and that was the miracle of him and the power of him. And he said to everyone that had ears to hear, this experience that I am having inside myself, this magnificent experience of love and of wisdom, of understanding, and of the power to do things that are above the ordinary, you can have it too. Come on and follow me into that experience. Do the things that I do. Feel the things that I feel, and it is yours. You see, he took the mind that was in him and put it into the full expression of its power and its love. He was an exceptional person, not because he was different, but only because he took that reservoir of power and of feeling of love that is in him and called it forth into its magnificent potential. That potential came alive and came active and was felt and became visible as events unfolding. And we must do it too, and sometime we will do it. Love has destined that you will do it, because you are an instrument, a channel that love has created so that it might flow, so that it might pour itself through you into the experience of this universe. Love lives and love loves you, and I know it. My life was changed dramatically a number of years ago when, in a state of desperation and darkness, the agony of my own soul, because I had been doing my own thing. I did my own thing until it just about killed me, and then there was nothing else to do. I did not know what else to do, and so one marvelous day, in the midst of what was happening to me, I surrendered. I do not know how to tell you to surrender, except that I just did. I quit. When you've tried everything that there is to try, you quit, especially if none of it has worked, and it was not working for me, and so I just quit and cried a lot. Some of you are smiling because you have quit and cried a lot. You understand what I'm talking about. But then I did more than cry. I said, help me, to a God in whose existence I did not believe. And I said it just right, because I said, God, I don't believe you exist. That was the most honest I'd been in a long time. And a short time thereafter, I heard a voice. It was not a voice like my voice speaking to you. It was the sound of thoughts coming alive in me. A presence was there in me and around me, and it started thinking its thoughts in me that came alive and seemed to be sound. The sweetest, most powerful, loving voice that I can possibly describe to you. And if I talk about it too much, I won't be able to talk. And the voice said, perfect love casteth out fear. And that was strange language to my ears that time. But in the exact moment that I heard those words, I felt the love. And the love was like an energy. It was like a power. It was like a sea of power that flowed into me and touched me, and it was so exquisitely beautiful that I could not bear it, and I tried to say, turn it off, I cannot stand it. But I couldn't say it. And I knew that that was the tiniest drop of love. But love existed outside of myself. It existed as its own self, and it existed as a facet of the spiritual nature of the universe in whom I had not believed a fraction of a second before the experience. And love loved me, and it cared for me, and it revealed its nature to me, and I knew that I was like unto it, although nothing that I had ever done or said would so indicate to you. And it revealed possibilities for me. And it didn't even forgive me because it held nothing against me, and that was the greatest miracle of all. And it was like unto a joy, and it was an ecstasy. But love is a power. Now, when Jesus called forth his disciples, that was an action that was symbolic of Jesus calling forth the 12 mystical powers of his spiritual mind. And each disciple represents a mind power that must be consciously established in each one of us. You see, our minds are just exactly like the mind of Jesus, that exceptional being. And so in the same manner, we must each one put on our own spiritual identity, and that's what follow me means. It does not mean worship. It means do this thing that I am doing inside yourself. Now, each of the disciples' name was descriptive and was symbolic of the mind power that that particular disciple represented. And also, when Jesus Christ was calling forth those disciples, there was a special order, a divine order, in which these mind powers were to be called forth into awakeness and activity. And that divine order has been maintained in this series of lessons as we work with our own disciple faculties. You recall the first lesson that we had was with Simon Peter, who represents the spiritual faculty or power of faith. It's the power to say yes to my good. And I have faith in my faith. The color, the reminder color, is dark blue. The second disciple was Andrew, Peter's brother, who represents strength, but not physical strength. It's spiritual strength. The power to feel good at all times under all conditions. Remember how Peter would vacillate? You've had that experience. You make a decision and you're going off to practice what you've decided upon, and suddenly you run into some heavy traffic. Well, Peter vacillates, but strength does not. You have the power to feel good. It does not matter what is happening to you. It simply doesn't matter. You know, some people feel good if they get a rather large check back from their income tax return. And so they're on the way, they're feeling good all the way to the bank, almost all the way to the bank, but at the parking lot of the bank, guess what happens? You know what happened because it happened to you, I can tell. You put a dent in the fender that instantly you know is going to cost you more to have repaired than the check. So what happens to faith or Peter or feeling good? Well, with Andrew, you can feel good under all conditions. It doesn't make any difference because the way you feel has nothing to do with outer conditions. And the color, the reminder color for Andrew is spring green. It's the color of this new life that's unfolding. And if you can feel good long enough, you'll find new life unfolding, new conditions emerging. The third disciple was James, the son of Zebedee, the power of wisdom or judgment. And this is the ability to know all things without thinking. It is knowing, intuitive knowing, the ability to make right choices. That activity is in the solar plexus, the sun center, and the color is yellow, like the rays of the sun. The fourth faculty is John, the brother or co-faculty of James. And this is the power of divine love, and the color code is pink. Now, John, the name is a contraction of two names, Johanan and Jehohanan, that have virtually the same meaning. Jehovah bestows mercy. Isn't that a striking description? The Creator of the universe bestows mercy, love. Jehovah is gracious, dove-like, meekness, compassion, fertility, fruitfulness, love. And the meaning of the name John describes as much as words possibly can the nature of this divine faculty of love. Actually, love cannot be described in the words that we use in our three-dimensional intellectual language for one very simple reason. And I hope you will listen very carefully when I share that reason with you. In our experience as a race unfolding, we have had experiences both outside ourselves and within ourselves. And every time we have an experience, we then invent a word and we name that experience or that event. And so words, therefore, the language that we use is the sum total of the experience of the human race. Now, from time to time, there is an outstanding individual who goes beyond the experience of the race into the fourth or next dimension of life. It is where most of us have not yet been, into what the larger dimension or sphere of experience that life has to offer. And such a one, in turning to us, must use words to tell us, because we are word-oriented, of that experience, and instantly they are powerless because the word is not yet invented, or if they invent it, we do not understand it. And so if such a one as Jesus the Christ, or any exalted one, goes into an experience of love, and then begins to speak to us about love, instantly we use the word love and say, oh yes, I've been doing that all day. You see, we bring it down to the level of our three-dimensional experience because it is encapsulated in the language, but it is not. The fourth dimension has not yet been put to words. And love is not the word love. Love is the activity of spirit. And the physical center in the body is the ganglionic nerve center back of the heart. And that's why when you experience something of the activity of love, you have that funny feeling in your heart. And that's why that most of the love songs use the word heart, because of what you feel in your heart when you feel love. John is the brother of James, or wisdom. And James, as you know, is located in the solar plexus, back of the stomach. And these two activities of divine wisdom and divine love, or John and James, are so closely allied or unified by bundles of nerves that touch each other that whatever affects the stomach affects the heart sympathetically, and vice versa. For example, people with weak stomachs think they have heart trouble, and people with heart attacks frequently think they have indigestion. You see, the emotions or feelings distributed through these mind centers are very, very powerful influences in mind and body and in your affairs. And that's why that Jesus called James and John, these two feeling activities, sons of thunder. And it's also why, because they're so powerful, that he kept these two disciples almost always with him, and especially in important matters, John and James were there. If you don't believe it, read the Bible, and there were three disciples more often present, Peter and James and John, his brother, because of the powerful energies, the wisdom, and the feeling of love. And if you have any important thing to do, I suggest that you take James and John with you. Now, the great cause of our problems in affairs of the heart is that we have not learned that love must be accompanied by James, or divine wisdom, love's co-faculty. And this is true in so many of the man-woman relationships that we've experienced in our lives. Rose McCauley, dear soul, I know her not, but I love what she said. Love between men and women is such a hot, stupid, middling thing. All emotion and no thought, or all feeling and no wisdom, or all John and no James. Now, the same thing could be said of many parent-child relationships. The parent who unwisely gives too much in the name of love, too much freedom, too many choices to a child not yet ready to make those kinds of choices. unwisely believing the child to be capable of monitoring its own behavior, and therefore neither disciplining nor requiring excellence, and not even seeing the damage that such love, which is not love at all, can cause. Love is not accompanied by James, its co-faculty, is blind, causes many problems. It's not wise. Someone told me yesterday, there's a great deal of love lacking in my life. And I told her, yes, but it's not lacking in you. It's there. All of the love that has ever been in the universe is right now trying to leak through you, not explode. Just a little leak will do. Love is not an emotion. Love is not an emotion. Hear that. Love is not an emotion that you are generating. You don't have a little love machine. There was a movie, The Love Machine. It's not an experience that you have with a person. Love is a power. It is a universal energy expressing itself through you. It's the attribute of God seeking expression through all persons, to or for all persons in all life. Now, love has been called the greatest thing in the world, but in its pure form, it is rarely seen in the world. The world knows it not. It could know it. The world knows it not because love is the experience of heaven or the kingdom of God that happens to be in you and me. And if you and I would let love flow and pour itself through us, love would transform the world. But it would be a thunderous experience when it does, as you and I release love and let this marvelous feeling for life begin to unfold. The vibrations that occur are indescribable in words. And love will do something. It will shake you up. It will shake you loose from your roots and from those things that you have attached yourself to in the name of love that were not love at all. You see, one of our problems in life is that we keep waiting for someone to love. Someone to love? That is an insanity. We keep waiting for a special person to come along so that we can love them, and all the while, love wants to love everything through us. This is the spirit of the universe that wants to express, to feel, to enjoy, to ignite, to flow, to touch, to comfort, and to heal. And you're a channel. And all of life and every activity is your opportunity. How many of us have said, I will love my job when I get another one? I would love what I do if I was only somewhere else doing it. Oh, no. The chances are that we will never get a job to love until we start loving the one that we now have. Because should we get another one, it will be one just like this. One must love where they are and what they are and all that is taking place because love requires it. The universe loves itself. And if you and I permit love to flow, then marvelous things begin to happen. And the first thing is that all violence would cease instantly if we would. Man's inhumanity to man would disappear. For example, murder would cease. No person would intentionally hurt another person, nor rob, nor rape. And everyone would live with an insatiable desire to help their fellow man in every way possible. The only police force needed would be traffic control. And the reason that you would need it would be that traffic would be stalled because everyone would be trying to let everyone else go first. It'd be the exact reverse of what we have now. There was an accident not long ago, and it was not a serious accident. The drivers thought it was, but it wasn't. They were all shook up, and glass was all around, and there was just one little place that traffic could flow through in the westbound lane. Now, there was something much worse than the accident that then began to occur. And that was the series of near accidents that occurred when each driver tried to be first to get through that little one lane. And if you could have heard the things they said to each other and the gestures they made, I noticed one guy trying to blow his horn. He hadn't blown it in years until that moment, and he was looking for it. As I watched him, I thought, now when he gets home and his little child comes out to meet him, in a little while, he will forget these invented emotions and turn to that child in love. Why do we demean ourselves? Why? When this exquisite experience that is so healing and kind and joyous and bright and uplifting is there in all experiences. You see, the feeling of love is totally positive. Perfect love casts out fear and also all other negative vibrations. When you and I are loving, then all anger and guilt and resentment and self-pity, insecurity in all of its forms, vanish without a trace, and you can't even remember what they felt like. If you don't believe it, the next time you really are caught up in love, and you are right now, you can't remember the anxieties that were there because they don't exist in the real you. And incidentally, the first negative emotion that would go would be jealousy. That sly wolf in love's clothing that says, because I love you so much, do you see how jealous I am? Wham! Jealousy is an insanity of the emotion. And love is that majestic splendor of life expressing for all life. Love is the feeling that the Creator has for all creation. Let me tell you a story of love. Just a few years ago, before I came into this experience that I love so much, I was loving what I was doing so that I would not have to do it much longer. You see, we're afraid to love what we're doing because if we love it enough, we think we'll be stuck with it. That's why you don't love what you're doing. But did you know that the only way to release a thing is to love that thing? And if you love it enough, then you will be released to go to the next highest experience. And there's some people that we have in our lives that sometimes we're afraid to love because if we love them enough, we'll be stuck with them. If you want to get someone out of your life, start loving them. Otherwise, you might get that person out of your life, but one just like them will come to settle down again. So get on with the loving now. Love is the releasing power. It will heal you of anything that needs to go. It knows what needs to go. Well, this day I was loving my life and loving my work because I didn't want to do it any longer than I needed to do it. And I'll tell you, I was really loving it. I was really putting it on it. And it was one of the great loving days of my life. And I was in Washington going to Philadelphia, and it was a very important business day for my company and for me. And I was loving everyone that I saw, and I got into the flow of love, and suddenly I was not loving life. Love was loving it through me. And I wish I had time to tell you all of the events that took place. I don't. But I can promise you this, when you're in that flow, everything works together for your good. And it was for mine, and my business was over, quite successfully concluded in Philadelphia before the day was half over. And coming back to Washington, I realized I had time to stop in Baltimore to call on a very important account there. And as I got off the train in Baltimore Station, I was washing my hands in the men's room, and I was loving life. And suddenly this infinite presence of love said again to me, Jack, let me show you something. And at that exact moment, I heard a sound, a voice behind me saying, please, mister, just a dime. And I turned, and it was an alcoholic, a Skid Row alcoholic, the last days or weeks of his life. And suddenly love, the spirit of the universe whose nature is love, loved its creation, that person, through me so much that I could hardly bear it. It is exquisite the way that love loves you. And love was not concerned that he was an alcoholic and had, as we would think, wasted so much of his life and energy. It just loved him, and he was still saying, please, mister, just a dime, settling for the least thing that he could get from me that would help him to get another drink. And all the while, love was here, loving and capable of responding if he could but see it, and of course he could not. And I could hardly breathe. because of love. Loving, 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 loving. And that person's destiny is as secure as any being who has ever been created in all of time, and I can tell you that. And love showed me this man when he was a child. I saw him when he was a child playing, would you believe it? And I saw him as he was or could have been if he had not been devastated by alcoholism. I saw him as he will be in time when he discovers love. And he was still saying, please, mister, just a dime, because love is outside of time. And I could not give him a dime. I gave him everything I could get my hands on, and I'm glad I couldn't reach for more, because there was that intense desire to share. And I turned to pick up my briefcase, and when I turned back, he was gone. And I rushed into the lobby to find him, and I could not. But love was loving him through me, and still is, and has been for these 10 years. Often I think of him, and love flows out to him. But the miracle was this, that love then spoke to me and said, Jack, did you feel it? And I said, yes. And love said, I love you as much as I love him. Can you feel it? Love is alive. But think not that you can direct love's course, for love, if it finds you worthy, will direct yours. And worthiness does not mean goodness. You will never, ever be good enough to deserve love. You cannot be. Worthiness means responding to, believing in, surrendering, acknowledging, letting love express itself through you for life. You're a channel for love to love through. Love is the impulse of the universe to share itself. It's total good with every part of itself, and you are part of itself. Love is the pulse of the universe and is literally a vibration that can be felt. It is a dynamically pulsating energy, and yet it is a presence, it is an intelligence that knows you. Oh. God is love, and love is the feminine aspect or nature of God, that nurturing, nursing, healing, comforting, beautifying, uplifting aspect of life that could never ignore you, not for a moment. And yet love is the music of the spheres. It is the sound of itself, the joy of itself, the vibration of its feeling in you right now, seeking to sing its song. And you can bet one thing, that love has never sung a sad song in its whole life. And if you hear someone telling you that they are sad because of love, do not believe it. Ever. Even if death has occurred, and especially if death has occurred, we're sad because we have been programmed to believe in sadness and to believe in death, and it does not exist at all. Do you think that love could let its child die? Do you think that that Skid Row drunk that I saw, who now must be out of that physical body, is dead? He is alive. His destiny is secure, and so is yours, and so is your beloved. Love never suffers. It cannot suffer, because God cannot suffer. If there be suffering in life, it is not because we love too much, but because we have not touched love or loved enough. Does that sound strange? You see, most people think that they have loved the world and their friends and family far more than they have yet received in return. It's a secret thing. We do not speak it often. If only you would love me as much as I love you, everything would be all right around this house. Well, if this was really true, everyone would be receiving more love than they get. You always get back more than you give. So if you're not getting as much as you want, that's only telling you one thing: you haven't been giving very much at all. You start giving love, and it will come back to you, heaped up, pressed down, and running over, and I'll guarantee it. That's its nature. Ann Landers wrote a column recently, and she was replying to Ralph. She said, Ralph, I don't buy it. There's no such thing as too much love. I don't know what it was that you got too much of. She said, a great deal masquerades as love that is not love at all, because love is discipline, genuine concern in the ability to allow the loved one room in which to grow. You see, the human problem with love is that we think we have experienced love and understand it, and that we're experts at it, and we have never really touched it at all in the fourth dimensional sense of its great reality. You see, man does most of his living from the human side of himself called personality. And personality cannot experience love because love does not exist in it. Love exists in your individuality, or the spiritual side of you, or the Christ of you, the higher part of you, the I am of you. Personality possesses and is jealous, and love sets free and trusts and does not hold grudges. Personality worries and demands its own way, and it's irritable and touchy. It's filled with fear. But perfect love casts out fear. And love is the answer to personality and the characteristics of personality, or what we call our human nature. Every problem that we've ever had has arisen from our personality or human nature. And this is the changing or vacillating, depressed, upset side of us. Personality is made up of many impurities, but love is pure. Personality is a fractured thing. It is a no thing. But love is an element of God. And the dictionary says that an element is one of a class of substances which cannot be separated into substances of other kinds. And love is like that. Love cannot be reduced to something else. In other words, it will not take on a nature unlike its own nature. It will never act like anything but love. You can't make love act less than what it is. And Webster goes further to say that element refers to the units or substances which are fundamental and ultimate parts of the whole, but from which, in combination, other forms can be composed. Love, therefore, is one of the 12 elemental and basic properties or qualities of your spiritual being. And along with the other 11 basic qualities or properties of your spiritual being, and the 12 of these represented by your 12 mind powers or disciple faculties, makes up the whole you, the real you, the spiritual you. And this is the original self that is not made by hands, but created in the image and likeness of God. And you can't take any one of these 12 elements and reduce them or make them be anything other than what they are. You see, you are made of God stuff. And that can't be anything other than what it is. Now, you and I have been given the spirit of love. But we must discipline our personalities and then call this spirit of love forth into activity. There's a strange thing that takes place in each of our lives, and that's personality wanting to do its own thing in the name of love. It takes the word love and attaches that word to its own distinguishing characteristics and actions. For example, such characteristics and actions as possessiveness. Love, the so-called love of personality, must own or possess. It must keep tabs on. You understand that? Okay. It takes pride and jealousy and fear and selfishness and attaches the word love to them. A great deal masquerades as love that is not love at all. In order to exist, personality calls its unacceptable behavior love. And you see, we don't see very much real love in the world. I wonder how many people are on psychiatrist couches today as the result of mother love. I'm not taking a swipe at mothers that comes from fathers too. But the love that says, I love you, so I must possess you. But love does not possess, nor will it be possessed. Personality says, I love you, so I will worry, and I will be afraid, and then I will let you know how much sorrow you have brought me. Love says, I have given my life for you. And it's 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon, and you haven't shown up yet. I know that you're 48 years old, but that's all the more reason for you to get here. Love that continues to find its identity in other persons without releasing them never ever was love, and don't you ever believe it or buy it or respond to it on that basis at all. Call it what it really is. Isn't being a good parent or a good partner in a marriage relationship, doesn't that require one to be a good worrier and letting the children or the partner know how great the sacrifice has been and how much is expected in return? Personality. It is not love. You see, we can't put these human characteristics on love because love will not accept them. We can try, but they simply won't fit, because the elements of love cannot be fractured or divided or reduced to this level. They simply cannot be. If we are to experience love, we must rise up to its level and to its vibration and take on its nature, because it will never ever take on ours. Perfect love came out to meet the prodigal son, but not in the pig pen. Love is a state of wellness, and it will never equate with or take on the characteristics of the sickness of the human mind. And you and I will never ever be well or whole or free or truly alive or prospered or fulfilled, nor will we know the kingdom of God or have a spiritual experience until we become one with love as an activity, not just a word spoken. The next time you say to a person, I love you, stop and see if you really are. Because if you're not doing it, you're lying. If the feeling is not there, stop and wait till the feeling comes and then say, oh, now I really do. Now I really do. Now I feel it. There's this feeling in me for you. I am in God with you. I am in God with you. We are one. I am in God with you. This activity of spirit, this feeling, this wisdom, this knowingness is flowing through me to you and to us both. And this experience is the single most beautiful thing that life can ever bring to us. And how can we bring it about? Well, if you're ready to give up your suffering, and if you're ready to release any unhappy emotions that you have experienced or thought you experienced because of the absence of love or of any relationships or experiences that you've had in the past. You see, you and I must try to become one once again with love itself. That is perfect joy and knows nothing but its own ecstasy. And the first step is to stop thinking about or identifying with the object of your love, or the reason for your unhappiness or lack of love. Don't wait for someone to come so that you can start loving. Start loving now, and then someone will come. A lady called me yesterday, an elderly lady in her 70s. And the moment I heard her voice, I knew what she was going to say. And she said, I'm all alone, and no one has come to see me for a long time. And she spoke to me for several minutes, and I said, dear one whom I dearly love, I do not blame them. It's been a long time since I've heard anyone filled with so much self-pity and self-concern. And she said, I've never been talked to so terribly in all my life. She said, no one has ever spoken to me this way. And I said, I wish someone had talked to you this way maybe 60 years ago, so that you could break out of this self-concern and begin to be caught up with the activity of spirit flowing through you into its world around you. And so, my friend, let the great love of life flow through you now. In 1974, someone gave me a poem just written by Swami Pranathananda, a mystic. And today, interestingly enough, not knowing that the lesson was on love, but just before the afternoon class, Karen brought it to me framed beautifully. And I would share it with you. Lessons on love to my son. And you are that child, that son of love. You are a teacher of love, John, sent from the heaven above, John, so children may hear of my love divine and see it expressed in you. Call them together again, John. They must come forward again, John, and grow in light and love, John, to walk with us above. Their minds are thinking again, John, of times that have been and are, John. Sing the song of love, John. Sing the song, my son. This is our song of love, John. Words of wisdom that flow, John, into their souls of light, son, into their souls of light. Uplifted you are in light, John. Come to seek brothers of night, John, giving them back the light, John. Shine within the light. My children I send to teach them of mansions golden and blue, of precious powers within them, John, of oneness with me and you. You are my beloved son, John, sent from heaven above, John. We love them dearly as one, John. I love them, my son, through you. You were created to be, and will not rest until you become a living channel of the love that has formed and shaped this magnificent universe. Your name is John. Johanna, love.
This concludes the lesson on side B of tape number 2. Now proceed to tape number 3 for the continuation of The Superpowers of the Mind.